What's going on, everyone? Thanks for joining in. To answer your question, Travis, I'm trying to steer some people here to the tube. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we shall see. Everybody likes Facebook, though. They do like Facebook. So we're going to try this one not on Facebook and see what happens.
Beautiful.
BEA beautiful. Oh.
Yeah.
I knew that was bothering. I knew it was bothering you. So, welcome in, everyone. We all had to do duties today after driving back from Bristol, so didn't get to answer the bell last night. Unfortunately, well, I mean, Travis was well rested. Joe, he slept the entire way back pretty much. He literally he looked at Wrightsman and goes, "If you need somebody to drive, let me know." I ain't
your guy. I'm not your guy.
15 minutes later, after trying to be this gentleman, just conked out the entire way back.
Hey, he says, "I'm good," and I said, "Got it."
Got it. I hear you loud and clear, Captain.
Way better. I sleep way better in a car than probably a bed. I can sleep incredible in the bed. I don't know if you remember Talladega, Ryan, on our way home. I slept the whole time too.
Yeah, well, we're going to steer away what you do good in the bed and go to Joe. Joe, how was your trip back from Bristol?
Mine was excellent. I left about 6:30 this morning.
Okay.
So obviously leaving Bristol at 6:30 in the morning, not much traffic there. So and I missed I missed rush hour when I got to Lexington. So I had a perfect, easy drive home. The only thing that got my way was truckers, and I almost wrecked into the UNHO hauler. But besides that, easy drive home. Which that guy was driving like a jackass, by the way.
Yeah,
I didn't know a hauler could run 87 miles an hour, but that's what it was going. That thing did not have a governor on it.
That's impressive.
You know what happened is he got drunk last night. He woke up this morning and said, "Shit, I gotta go."
Yeah. I'm sure that happens. I don't know. Truckers, let us know. I do want to say before we get started, I've started a mini protest, and we all are willing to stand for something. I am protesting Kyle Busch's pit crew. So there is nothing Kyle Busch up here until his pit crew steps the hell up. We're throwing it back to Kenny Irwin. So we got two Kenny Irwins and then Dale Jarrett, his teammate. I got this personal note from Kenny Irwin to Ryan from Kenny Irwin when I was like 9. So throwing it back to the late great Kenny Irwin, and that's your fault, Kyle Busch's pit crew. I would have ran you over if it was up to me, but it's not up to me. See, and now Joe's protesting. Joe is so frustrated with Kyle Busch's pit crew, he left. So we might as well just get started. Kind of like Bristol, things are going off the rails just to begin.
Yeah.
We didn't know that we were going to have tire wear. Joe didn't know if he was going to have emotional wear. What is this? Get this garbage out of here. Come on. Get out of here. Look what you did. Look what you did.
That's pretty funny. You said that in our group chat during the race.
Yeah, that was real funny.
That sticker is still on that pretzel, which was I left in that van down by the river.
Yeah, after it was on my hind end. Well, let's go ahead and just get right into it. Now that we've had a day, I'm sure everybody has had some time to think about it, discuss, and collect your thoughts on what it is we tried to witness. I called it "Embrace the Chaos" is the video I put out earlier today. And, I didn't get your guys' opinion on it. I know Travis kind of waffled before or during the race and after the race. And then he may have read Kyle Larson's comments and may be on the total opposite side of it now. Joe, you were with your son. So we were talking about it as the race happened. But as you know, you can't hear shit whenever the race is actually going on. But now that it's manifested a little bit, we've had time to think about it. Travis, what is your overall thought of the race in general?
I thought it was just chaos. I thought there for the good amount of time, if you said green, I thought it was fantastic. It let everyone with tire wear, with everything. Um, the only issue I had was just the cautions every 40 laps. It was just so hard to guess. It's like that last run. I feel like cars were like, okay, I'm gonna back way off. Like Alex Bowman backed way off, let everyone wear their crap out, and then he got a fourth place finish. But probably he wasn't a fourth place car. You had like a Ty Gibbs who ran the crap out of his car, obviously blew a tire, then he didn't get to finish. He probably deserved. I thought he might have been even the best car. So I thought it was a little bit of a guessing game about where he was gonna go. You and I talked about this on the way home. Like, was it a good race? Was it a bad race? I thought it was a good race. I thought it was chaotic. I thought, I had moments where it's like, holy crap, like that. At one point, we were all looking at the race like, who's taking the lead? Like they were just back and forth, back and forth. There's passing, and all throttle time was incredible. That's all the driver's been asking. Hey, give us something that we have all throttle time so we can make passes, so we can go around people. And that's what they got. So the drivers got what they wanted with the tire wear. Maybe it takes the horsepower out now with that tire wear, but overall, good race. It was interesting. It was hard to keep up with there at the end, especially we didn't have a monitor in front of us at the track. So we're all like, who's this? And then we're looking at the scoreboard. We're like, I don't even know who's ahead of who's, at one point, I think you and I looked at each other like, oh, blah, blah, blah's going to win. And all of a sudden we're like, oh crap, they're 2 laps down.
Yeah.
So
I thought Josh Berry. I told you I was like, I think Josh Berry's going to win. And next thing I knew, he's in 15th. So I
yeah,
don't know. I did. It was just it was wild. Joe, from
yeah.
your perspective, being there as well, what did you think of the race?
Well, I think of all the Bristol races I've been to, and like I said, I went every year from 2012 to 2019, and then early 2000s had a little bit of a break in between there. But to be honest with you, I think both the truck race and the Cup race this weekend were the greatest Bristol races I've ever seen. And I know we don't talk about trucks too much, but I walked out of Bristol Saturday night saying that might have been some of the best racing I've ever seen in any series, hands down. And I didn't think going into Sunday, I didn't think that was going to be. I didn't think the Cup race was going to be able to top that, and I was wrong. And I think that we got everything that we've been asking for and bitching about for the last 2 years on short tracks answered on Sunday. And I know there's a lot of technical questions we can go into. They didn't use PJ1, they used resin on the track, which I think is the first time they've ever used that. They knew that the resin was going to tear up the bottom lane or they knew that it was going to tear up tires using the bottom lane on the track. Like Travis said, we saw a lot of drivers kind of milking that, trying to run outside that resin using the top lane from the start of the race, but they were obviously slower. And then we see drivers, that gave it hell. And Kyle Busch, for example, Kyle Busch had a good car. We saw that early in the race, but he tried to keep that low line. He chewed up his tires and he didn't have the right setup to maintain that. And he got about 35, 40 laps in every stage and started spinning out or blowing tires. But I think it put so much complexity into the race, and the drivers had to manage so much that it really came down to who was going to manage their tires and who was going to be in the right position at the end of the race. And I was with you guys. Kyle Larson had that speeding penalty with, I don't know, 55 to go.
Equipment interference.
Okay, I thought it was
the
a speeding
tire.
penalty.
No, it was the guy when he
go.
went to put the tire, it went in somebody else's pit box.
So
Yeah,
I
110 to
thought,
go.
obviously I thought there's no way he's going to come back, because what I was watching in the truck race, it took about 8.5, 9 laps to catch up with the field and lap the field. In the Cup race, it was taking about 20 laps, right? So
yeah.
I look at that and I say, well, the leaders are going to catch up with him in about 20 laps. So with, I don't know, 40 to go, 38 to go, I think he made a pit stop, changed two tires, and just dominated the field all the way back up into the 5th position. I never saw Hamlin pit that whole time. I don't know how he maintained his tires for the last 40 laps of that race. And credit to him. I don't like that son of a bitch, but credit to him. He was able to run an incredible race. and maintain his tires, and he earned that win. I mean, like I said, just one of the most incredible Bristol races I've ever seen, hands down. I left that place drooling.
The thing that, you know, and this is the in-person part of this that I want to discuss with you guys as well, and then people in the chat, let us know what it was like to watch on TV if you weren't there. Like you mentioned, Joe, you didn't see Denny Hamlin pit. I don't remember seeing Martin Truex pit because there was so much to watch. I
Right.
mean, there's one guy going up against the wall, and then you're like, is there going to be the caution? Because they threw the bogus caution early, and then they kind of let him ride right after that. But like, there was so much to watch. Like I told Travis earlier in the race, when Kyle Busch ended up going a lap down, I was like, we're watching two different races. You're watching Larson, I'm watching Kyle Busch, but then that third stage, it all just manifested into together. Like you're watching Kyle trying to recover from a pit road incident. I'm watching Busch finally get on the lead lap and he took the wave around, and there's a caution right before that, and then watch his pit crew go up in flames again. So, like, there was just so much going on. And then we finally got to see green flag pit stops. And then that's just when all hell broke loose. How many I mean, like, I was literally trying to find drivers that I knew couldn't like drive around the track. The right tire's gone. And I'm like, did he pit? No, he don't look like he's still going like 50 mile an hour. Did he miss the pit? Is he unable to pit? Like, there was just like so many different things. And then I get on my phone and I'm like, oh man, Chase Elliott made it up to 8th place. I'm like, holy shit, Chase Elliott's a lap down. Chase Elliott was in 25th, 20 laps to go. Like, there's just so much going on. And to me, leaving the race, I'm still trying to process what happened. We're walking up, we're talking. I'm asking random strangers to apply for RCR's crew, and but I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened. And I think that just made for one of the greatest spectacles we've ever seen. Is it the most uh, clean? Is it organized? Is it, did you feel like you just got done watching like a 90-minute soccer game in a 0-0 tie? Like, we all gave it our best. No, it was like the brawl, the malice at the palace just happened. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess the Pacers did win, right? There's just so many different things that happen. And then at the end of the day, you got three of the oldest drivers in the sport find their way to manage through the chaos and to block out the noise. And, from that perspective, I never have been a part, and I'll be honest, guys, I don't think we'll ever be a part of something that crazy ever again. I don't think there's a possibility, moving forward. So, I just thought that part was, really, really fun. Travis, I know you've probably looked at other drivers commenting on it. Is there anything perspective wise that you've changed now that you've had some time to process it compared to what you watched? Or, what do you think? I'll let you take this moment moving forward, kind of where you want to go. This is kind of like just a hodgepodge of what we felt. A lot of people have already reviewed the race, but I'm just trying to give our perspective and then kind of moving forward, what NASCAR should do and what your thought processes are now. Listen to other drivers.
Yeah, I think you listen to them all, and they all were like, "Oh, I don't think if you gave us an extra set of tires, it wouldn't have mattered, or if you gave us extra sets, or this and that." I think, they were all a little shocked, and they thought there was going to be a little wear, but they didn't realize how much wear this was going to be. Um, they all kind of said it was just all chaotic. They didn't know, they knew they couldn't push the car, but they also knew the feeling of, okay, if I overstep here, like I'm going to start treading. And then, then all of a sudden, like they all said, it felt like it was a blowout. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, if I run here 2 or 3 mile an hour, 2 or 3 seconds slower, I can pace this around. And we go back to lap times and stuff. When's the last time they ran like an 18.7 lap time there? They ran an 18-second lap time. I'll just give you perspective, because I was listening to Larson radio, him going, hey, you're running a 15.8, and then the leader just ran an 18.6. 3 seconds. 3
That's
seconds.
crazy.
He was running faster. And that's what, you look at it, he pitted like 20 laps before like Hamlin did or Bowman did. And that's the only way he leapfrogged from 20th to 5th or 4th, wherever
Yeah,
5th.
fifth. Yep.
So I listened to it, and I partially agree. I don't know if I would. I love the wear and stuff, but maybe like, can we get it to last 80 laps? I just thought the making them last 50 laps was just it was hard for me to watch because I kept slapping you on the side of the on the side and going, my God, like as soon as the racing is gonna start getting good, like a caution would come out. Like every time.
Yeah.
And I mean I called 2 cautions. I said, there's gonna be a caution at well, I don't remember
Yeah,
what I
you
said,
were
but
literally guessing the lap when we would have a caution and be
yep,
within 3 laps, yeah.
yep. And that's what I was like, it's just one of those things where, you know, if there was just no like at the end, like those last 150, 130 laps, incredible because just so much chaos going on, but no cautions. They
Yeah.
just raced. And where beforehand, I just felt like the NASCAR was milking cautions, and then they were like, okay, like maybe if we just ran an extra 4 caution laps, maybe we would, maybe we'd get these tires, last a little bit longer. But God, it just felt like if there wasn't a caution after 40 or 50 laps, I think the race would have been even better. But people kept complaining, and I think that's where some of the complaints were was, oh man, like, tire wear, they can't even keep the tires on. Where if you just watch the last 130 laps of that race, that's the best
Yeah.
130 laps you're going to see all year.
Yeah.
Easily. I mean, just people having to pit, people blowing stuff, people losing traction. Then you got people in and out of race cars trying to get around people going 3.5 seconds slower than, other people. I mean,
Didn't he punt
that's
Bubba
just,
so that he can actually catch back up to Martin Truex Jr.?
yeah.
I mean,
So there
it
was,
was crazy. Y
well, you
Joe
just, and I, like I said, it's just one of those things where I wish it was fun from our standpoint. You and I, Joe kept coming down to us, and we were talking like, oh my God, this is like good stuff. And then it was just, give me like 80 laps or just let it go green. Make
Yeah.
them sit there and save their crap, and then you'll get to see the ones who are actually good at saving and who's the ones that's actually the ones like thinking Ty Gibbs. He went from back to the front, and then he was what 30th. We started 30th and went all the way back up to the front, and then he got a great caution, but he wasn't going to last another 5 laps.
Right.
So
Well,
I don't know.
Joe, you've brought this up too, especially the horsepower debate. We've all said that essentially NASCAR has to do something to increase off throttle time to where there's a variance and increase the wear of the tires. The more horsepower, you guys had a great conversation about this. The more horsepower you have, typically that puts more wear on the tires because you're driving it in harder, you're driving it in faster. Well, we didn't have the short track package. I do want to emphasize that first. This was the same exact package as, the intermediate tracks. But what we saw was the tire wear. So we didn't get the higher horsepower for the tire wear. We just saw a tire that literally shredded apart as you would go forward. And it was just a manifestation of this perfect cycle that nobody had any idea was coming. Now we knew something. I want to say this. We didn't know something. When you watch qualifying and you watch guys can't make 2 laps, that is
Right.
something. That's not normal. So that was something. And their second lap was always way worse, except for Kyle Larson. He's the only one that actually improved his lap on the second lap. But
In the first
now,
round of qualifying, not in the second round,
right.
which
Yeah.
was on the same tires, by the way.
Right. And the track, I believe, was completely covered in the second round of qualifying. They didn't have the actual sun in turns 3 and 4 there. So the track just kept evolving. But sitting where you are now, Joe, like, do you think NASCAR will find the happy medium? Do you think they'll still listen to the horsepower? I mean, because they were trying to mitigate, like, Goodyear was trying to mitigate disaster at least early on, because I think they thought, oh shit, this is going to be Indianapolis. They're not
Right.
going to be able to run. They're going to puncture, but we didn't have punctures. We had cording. That's very, very different when a tire wears out versus blowout. You can't predict a blowout. You can predict a wear out. But where you sit right now, Joe, do you think NASCAR will make the right decision and try to find a happy medium? Or do you think that this is just going to be a one-off? Like, where do you sit now in that conversation after the entire week was talking about horsepower?
Well, I think Bristol's a unique track when we talk about horsepower, because I think last year's Bristol race wasn't bad. I'm not talking about the dirt. I'm talking about the fall race. I think when you take the same scenario and you put that at a Martinsville here in a couple of weeks, I don't think you have the same result. And I think what we saw in qualifying, when we're talking about 2 laps and then possibly another 2 for the people that made it to the second round. What I really think that we saw there wasn't so much a tire wear issue. I think it was the resin was so much easier to drive in than the top of the track, and I think all those guys, what they were doing, especially the short track guys, they like to run high against the wall anyway. Nobody likes to go to Bristol and run that low line all the way around the track, especially not dirt track guys. Travis, you could probably attest to that or think about that. So what I think we saw is like I said, they put the resin down instead of PJ1, and I don't know what the resin consists of. I couldn't
No,
tell
I
you
have
anything.
no idea. We can make
Tell
shit
you
up, but we don't know.
right. All I know is it chewed up the tires fairly well. But I think on that second lap, I think that first lap was their safe lap, and I think when drivers started pushing on that second lap to get a better time, and they got up out of that resin, they got loose and slippery and said, "Oh shit," and it just killed their time. That's what I took away from qualifying. Now, when we're talking about trying to find a happy medium with the tires, I know we're sitting here and talk about chaos, but I almost think we have it with that race. Yeah, I would have. I mean, I think legitimately drivers had between 35 and 40 laps. And I know nobody listens to Austin Dillon, but Austin Dillon said before the race that they were seeing tire wear at about 34 laps on their right front. Some pretty severe tire wear at 34 laps on their right front. So I think if they could get an extra 10 to 12 laps out of that current tire that they had with that exact same setup at Bristol, like Travis said, I think that is the perfect medium, and I think they're right there. And the racing that we got to see on Sunday, like I said, is about as good as it gets. So, I don't really have any complaints. I mean, yeah, the tires wore out just a tad too early, but I mean, as all the bitching we've done, I'm gonna take that little bit with a grain of salt and just be happy for the result that we saw.
And I think too, like I want you guys saw this. Like what the drivers were thrown at them was a curveball. It's like they went to the batting machine and they were expecting 65-mile-an-hour fastballs, and instead they got Randy Johnson sliders the entire time. And there was an adjustment,
And he
whether it
hit a
was
bird.
on pace, whether it was on, pace, whether it was on, how to maneuver around the track. Like you're saying, Joe, a lot of guys are starting to stick, low. It seemed like the further guys went up higher, the faster they would wear. There was just different things that these world-class drivers did to mitigate the tire wear. Now you have to think about it this way. Going into this race, they were driving or they were set up and they were driving like there wasn't going to be tire wear. I mean, that's just simply what the new next gen car is. Well, they had time to adjust, and we saw 30 laps then turn into 40, 40 laps turn into 42. By the end of it, one driver actually did run almost 70 laps on their last set of tires. To me, now that we have the data that we have now, I have no doubt that both the pit crew and the driver could get 80 laps with the right setup tomorrow, because they have all this data that they at their fingertips, and the engineer goes, "Oh, well, if we knew it was like that, well, we would have balanced it this way. We would have took so much more pressure off the right front, the right rear, whatever it was causing them to be." For Kyle, it was the right rear. He blew out the right rear twice. I just feel like giving that, and given the way that this sport has evolved, that is going to be something that this deserves a second chance. Like they need to run this again. I don't care if they just said, you know, we would like to alter it to maybe get some more tire wear or less tire wear, but I'd rather them see him trying to run it one more time. I don't care if it's Wilkesboro. I don't care where it is, to give this another shot to see exactly what does happen. And then on top of that, I thought the biggest thing, like Chase Elliott, which it's hard to get a really good Chase Elliott soundbite. He said this was the most control the drivers have ever had in a race in a very, very long time. And to me, that's where those guys that have grown up in a simulator had no idea what the fuck to do. I mean, just like they were like, this isn't in the video game. Like this,
And it
this is,
showed.
yeah,
It showed.
exactly. the young guys and the older guys that grew up on late model. I mean, Ryan Priest was one of those guys, probably having a blast because he's used to that. Josh Berry says the funnest thing he's ever done. Some of those guys, in their early to late 30s, then into their 40s, finishing in the top 3. It was like a time machine. We got to go back. I quoted on one of my the thing that I did today, the Let's Talk About It, Kyle Busch, and I don't know if you guys saw this soundbite. He was talking about how NASCAR was really unable to capture the fan that was a fan of Dale Earnhardt and transition him to be a fan of William Byron. I think there's a lot of truth to that. But it's like we got to go back in a time machine yesterday and go, this is what old school NASCAR used to look like. And the old school guys that still care about the sport and drive like that, grew up watching it, really succeeded yesterday. And the other ones that, lived on iRacing, nothing against it, but literally grew up racing on a computer, had no idea what the hell they were doing. And, and it'll come closer to the mean, but man, I just feel like we've had such an increase in this sport, up to 19% on weekends. This is shaping up to be one of the best seasons we've ever seen. The first year for the next gen car was fun, but this is crazy. I mean, we've had Daytona was solid. Atlanta, one of the best ever. Las Vegas, a mile and a half that didn't disappoint. Phoenix was Phoenix. Not sure we can save it. And then we've had this, and now we go to Coda, and Coda was a great race last year. So, I just feel like this could have been the best possible thing to possibly happen to NASCAR, and it was all by accident. And I just hope they don't overreact, man. I just, because you know how NASCAR is. They'll overreact to everything but adding more horsepower. And I just pray that they don't, because they really could have stumbled onto something here by accident. And, like Post-it notes were made by accident. Viagra was supposed to be a heart medication, and obviously had some sort of side effect on top of it. There are things that happen out of accidents. And, we may have found our Viagra.
How would you have liked to have been the first guy that walked in and was like, "Hey doc, I don't know if this is working right."
Yeah, I'm about to have a heart attack. This thing's been around for 4 hours. Jesus, I gotta go to work tomorrow. That's just kind of where I'm at. I'm not sure. If you guys want to take it further in this, if you want to, take an overall look at the season and kind of go forward from where we're at right now, it is completely up to you guys. I just wanted to jump on here, give our perspective from being there versus that. I'm going to watch it tonight. I recorded it's at 7. So the race should probably be pretty close to over for me to watch on TV. But if you guys have any other thoughts or want to move forward in the conversation a certain way, man, I mean, we can do that. It's totally how you guys want to run with this.
No, I think it's the biggest thing that I worry about is NASCAR overreacting, and I think you hit it pretty good. Where I think all the teams are super aggressive on the setup, and what comes from being super aggressive on a setup is tire wear and things like that. So I think if the race teams do that yesterday, I think we would have saw something a little different. So yeah, I think they're gonna come back in the fall and night race a little cooler. Still gonna be some cool temperatures, and I think we're gonna see not the extent, but I think we're gonna get what we're wishing for. Like, okay, get these last like 80 laps, 80, 90 laps, and then we're talking about a good race.
I mean, and answer me this: when you left that race, did you feel like this is how I do things, and maybe you guys are different. And Joe, you said you haven't been there for a few years. After watching that, did you literally go, I feel like I really need to watch this again the next time they have this race? I mean, that's how I was. Like, Atlanta has been that way for me. I thought it was going to snow in Atlanta. That's the only reason why I didn't go in February. But Atlanta's been one of those things. I went one time, like, I got to go back to Atlanta. Martinsville was the opposite. Martinsville was the worst race on Jeff Gluck's pole last year. And I'm like, I don't give a shit if I ever go to Martinsville ever again because the racing was terrible. Right. But yesterday when I was walking out, I go, I got to come up with $100 next year to go back to Bristol. I mean, did you feel the same way, Joe?
Oh, I'm definitely going back. I can't ever go. My camera just went blurry. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
I can't ever. I can't go to the fall race anymore. Right in the middle of football season, so it's hard to get away for a weekend. But yeah, my mind was made up with after the second stage of the truck race that
Yeah,
I was coming
that's a good point.
back next year. So I think like I said, I haven't been there since COVID. I know they had the All-Star race there in 2020. I haven't been since 2019, I believe, and I think that I'll probably be going back every year until something happens and we don't get a good race at Bristol. But I mean, even with the dirt, I mean, Bristol's always a good race. I don't think anybody's ever left Bristol and said this isn't a good race. And to be honest with you, if I was going to pick one track for any new NASCAR fan saying, "Hey, I can go to one race this year," I mean, Bristol's got to be in your top three, I would think,
I'd
possibly
agree.
your top pick, because at the end of the day, you're going to see excitement at Bristol, hands down, and just the sheer overwhelming effect of that Coliseum. They're in that place, and just seeing the short track racing there. I mean, it's yeah, you really can't beat it. So I'm happy with what I saw. I'm glad I made the trip. I'm glad we went to the race. So there's no complaints out of me from this weekend. Other
Right.
than I'm going to put the guy on blast. Obviously, yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, and as we were walking out of the track, I think there was a guy, he had one too many. He decided that he liked all the little four-leaf clovers that Bristol had put up around the entire track, to kind of spice it up a little bit. So I think he made those his for his private campground. And my boy tapped me on the shoulder. He goes, "Is he stealing those?" And I'm like, "Yes, he is." He had
Yeah.
about 15 of them in his hand. Just walk.
Yeah. He's not borrowing them, son.
Yeah.
He's not making the trek
He's
up that hill again.
he's keeping those. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, besides that, I'm happy with the result. I'll be back.
I would be honestly almost shocked if the night race doesn't sell out. And I can't remember the last time Bristol's had a sellout. It feels like when we watch on TV. And to be fair, there was quite a bit of fans there. Based on the truck race, I was kind of worried like there wasn't going to be anybody because there was not a lot of people at the truck race. But I mean, racing markets itself. And if you get to witness a good race and there's going to be us telling other people how great it was, that's the best type of marketing you can have. And, for something that I was going, man, this is the most expensive ticket I ever bought, to like could care less after we watched it. That's just awesome,
That's the
from
best
my
way to do it.
perspective. Right. So, Travis, I will say this, even through all the chaos, all the calamity, all the insert adjective, you and Joe are on a heater right now on your bets, man. Like, you saw through the smoke, the fire, the death, all of it. You guys hit again on your money pick. We were the long shot was close. Michael McDowell, he suffered
He
through
was up there.
through some tire wear. Still got a top 10, so got me a point. But I got to commend you guys. Like, shameless plug right here on your guys' betting. You guys killed it this week with the Martin Truex pick and everything going on there.
We
Hey,
had Truex, we had Hamlin. What else did we hit? We're 5 for 5 on the hammer bets. Like money stop. Like we are
time for a
on
new
it.
house. Time for a new
I-
house. We
I bought
paid
a
the
new
mor-
shirt.
houses now. I got
Paid
10
the-
houses now.
paid the mortgage last week. This week we're buying a new one.
I got 10 houses now, guys.
10
Yeah.
houses.
On
Yeah,
Monopoly.
I just keep doubling it.
Yeah.
He's going to turn them into a hotels the next time he passes go.
I think I did the math.
He's going to turn it into Pepsi.
We're up like 16 units on the year. 16 or 17 units on the year for betting. So if that's just $10, it's $160.
My
Do
unit's not up
$100.
that much, but
That's not bad. And you can tell Carl to shove it because, Princeton, did their thing. And Joe, I felt like I was staying with bookies here this past weekend. I mean, they're worse. They're worse than 12-year-old girls on their phone nonstop.
I know you were staying with bookie.
Carl.
I hear Travis over there. I heard he paid for his trip on the way down to Bristol.
He did. They did. I've never seen that. We're listening to it on in this side tangent. We're listening to the basketball game on the radio. That's not good enough. Carl is giving us the play-by-play off his phone for the bet that they have going on because a 10-second delay wasn't good enough to know. And then we got to see the highs and the low. We got to see Travis lose by half a point and then on the way home accidentally win by half a point. It was freaking nuts. And the easiest thing they did was the NASCAR bets. Your guys' NASCAR bets was the easiest thing they did.
So there you have it. We actually don't do this show because we love NASCAR. We do it because we're addicted to gambling.
And if you need help, put your phone down. So, I mean, yeah, you guys have been killing it. I got to give you props on that. You guys have been doing a great job. And, that's been really, really fun too. One last thing for the people that live in this community, the community was hit pretty hard by a recent young man passing, and we want to give condolences to Carson's family and for all the people that live in the Southeast Indiana area. Didn't know him, but it's been amazing to see how this community that honestly, could have had a lot worse because we just had a tornado go through, and thank God that wasn't as bad as it could have been. And then unfortunately a day or two later, we end up losing a young man that, Travis, I know you played against him. You coached against him. I've never seen people come together to talk about how privileged it was to meet an 18-year-old kid and how inspiring his life was to a lot of people. And I just want to say that it's awesome to live where we live in Southeast Indiana, to know the community that we have, the friendship, the love, and the outpouring. And, NASCAR is a grassroots sport, and it's a lot of all those qualities, praying before each race, respecting the flag, being a part of that patriotic movement, and being in communities. Bristol is not a city. It is a town that has a racetrack, and, we are part of a town just 5 miles from a racetrack. And, I just want to let everybody know that if you can look at his stuff. Travis, I'm sure you probably, and Joe, you can speak on this too, find ways to support them by looking at Carson's photography. He's simply stunning,
incredible,
mind-blowing stuff that he was able to do. And I'll probably find a way to put that into the description if you want to help with that family losing an 18-year-old. But I did want to give them this opportunity, for people that are listening back home to let them know we're caring about them, we're praying for them, and just the overall people in general. I mean, just an awesome job. I mean, like this, Joe, there's people that work in these type of communities that, work a lot of hours and did everything they could to help find them, and could have, got overtime, and they're like, don't want it. It's not part of it's not part of the duty. And, I'm really proud to be where we are. And at the same time,
no better place.
Heart goes out to that family, but, it makes us as older adults try to live better every single day, knowing that what this kid was able to do, and try not to end on too much of a somber note, but, Carson and his family and his community and everybody else were with you guys. And, we might be broadcasting on YouTube to everybody else that's out there listening, but our hearts are still in Southeast Indiana as well. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And if you want to find us, these are the ways to do it: Facebook, Patreon, and Rumble. And we will have a midweek show breaking down everything that is COTA related. I'm going to go ahead right now. I think Ty Gibbs is going to win at COTA. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I just want to make sure Joe got pissed off before we got off air. For Joe Spillman, Kyle is not a douchebag, Joe. His pit crew is. He's not a douchebag. Don't give that guy airtime, for God's sake.
Oh, I've already liked and followed his page.
I guarantee it.
Where'd he go?
Yeah, you made him leave. You made if you make Travis upset, that's bad.
Sad.
So Travis he's moving out. He's going to his other 10 houses. So for Joe Spillman, Travis and Ryan Peters, we'll catch you next time on Second to Catch Biz.